So Jarvis, would you recommend this to somebody?
Man, let me tell you guys something. When it comes to movies that are rated R and animated, I gotta say this is worth the watch.
Okay, good. Wow. Raving review here.
I know. Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I think there's so far. I mean, I think there's movies that when I think about all the movies we've reviewed, it's probably like one of those where it's worth at least one watch. You know what I mean? Watch it just to experience it. I don't know if the only one that we've reviewed that we're just like, don't watch this if you haven't, is The Rise of Skywalker. That's the only one I think. I think everyone, whether we think it's good or great or just meh, I think we're still kind of like, go ahead and watch it. This is one that I promise you. So literally this morning, because I'm a procrastinator, is when I watched this movie.
Nice.
And
it was worth it.
It was worth it, and I definitely will be watching it again.
Oh yeah,
for sure, because it's great, and I would definitely recommend you watch this movie. It's definitely funny because that's the nature of the movie itself, but it feels like a fever dream. You know what I mean? Like it's so crazy and wild.
And for some reason, it never feels like you don't know the difference between like the dream world and reality. Like they did a good job at mixing them to where it wasn't confusing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's definitely like, I don't know. I know there's some of you guys out there that are going to be like, I don't know, animations are for kids and stuff like that. I think there's probably a lot of a lot of you guys out there that understand, maybe you're into anime and you realize that, just because it's animated does not mean it's for kids.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies. And if you have that understanding, then you will absolutely like this movie.
Even in that vein of thought, there's definitely a difference between like traditional shonen anime and the different like art forms of animation. Yeah. So like this is an anime styled movie.
Yeah.
This is not a shonen style story.
Yeah, this is, I mean, I would say animated movies are also different than if they have a series show.
Yeah.
Even the movies are animated just slightly differently.
Oh yeah.
But this is definitely more in the vein of like what we watched with Ponyo, even though Ponyo's more childish, kind of like really
beautiful, masterful,
bright. Yeah, the animation still is very amazing and wonderful in Paprika, but it's definitely a little bit more mature, I would say, like even in the way that it's animated.
Yeah.
The lines and just how it is more realistic in a lot of ways. Even the crazy stuff, like I was watching the animation, I was like, man, that's very realistic.
Yeah.
Going through a tunnel or a sewer, I was like, that looks really, really accurate. But also because it's crazy, and that's one of the things I love about the animated art form, is that you can do so much more than you can like in live action. And live action CGI has gotten very great, but even still,
you can still tell,
because even still, like when you watch any of the live action Spider-Man movies, and then you go and watch Into the Spider-Verse, like it's just so enjoyable because of the things they can do visually with an animated art form rather than
it's the suspension of disbelief.
Yes. And so
in an animated movie, you're much more engrossed, and you're like, oh, when things are weird and different, it's like because you already set like a normal that it's going to be animated. But when you're watching a live action something, whenever something's weird and different and the earth curves in on itself, it's like you're like, oh, that's CGI.
Yeah.
Which is just animation.
Yeah, truly. But I mean, even still, Paprika is much better than like, obviously the comparison that we made is like Inception. I know there are other movies. Honestly, I was reading through some of the comments on the YouTube and I was like, oh, well, you should watch this movie too. Also a precursor to Inception. I'm just like, okay, I'm sure there's other movies with similar ideas about dream worlds and stuff. But this one was very cool in the sense that like, it wasn't about layers of dreams. It was about you just go into someone else's dream and that reality, like there's a whole dream world. And they even mentioned the fact that it was that, that the powers that be in the dream world were kind of upset that people in the not dream world were tampering with it and messing with it and being kind of like flippant with what it was. And so
it turns out the powers that be were just the chairman.
Yeah, chairman was trying to harness those powers and take control.
The whole thing was that the chairman wanted to live in his dreams to be reality.
Well,
and so mixing the two together made it so that he could do what he wanted to do,
which was to not be a chairman anymore. He wanted to be a walking man.
Yeah, a very
he
large,
wanted to be a walkman, not a chairman.
Yeah. Very large, kaiju-esque, walking bald man.
You get it, Walkman, because like cassette player. Okay,
90s kids, right?
90s kids. Shout out hashtag 90s kids. Wow, that was very old of me to say. Anyways,
if you're a 90s kid, subscribe.
If you're a 90s kid who is, never mind, I'm not even gonna go there. I abandoned that one because I didn't know how to say it without sounding super weird. So you'll never know unless you jump into my dreams and figure out what I was going to say, and that'll never happen because we don't have DC minis in this world.
I'm on it. I just gotta make another one.
But yeah, so to answer your question, I recommend watching it. Like 10 minutes ago, I recommend watching this movie. It's just like you said, it's just a visual treat. It's wonderfully animated. Mm-hmm. It's still kind of wild and crazy, but still fun. All the little details that you can pick out as you watch it, which I'm gonna rewatch again probably soon, probably sometime this week. So yeah, I mean, are we waiting for my rating till the end, or we'll do the rating?
You can do it right now if you want.
Really? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Paprika, I'd probably give it 7.5 dreams within a dream. Okay. Out of 10.
That's cool.
And you?
Oh, and me. Man, I'm a sucker for really good stories. I wouldn't say this one was like a life-changing, like I'm crying my eyes out. Wow, what a beautiful story. But this one was one of those like, damn it, just caught you it's so good.
Yeah, that it was just so unexpected.
So good.
You get some little
not that it was unexpected that it was going to be good, because I mean I was telling you earlier that Satoshi Kon is like a big name thrown around in the like pretentious movie circle.
I would guarantee that probably like 96% or more of the people that will watch this video have never heard of this guy.
No, that's why I'm here to introduce y'all to art, which is what this is. This is art. If you guys,
welcome to the world of art, you plebs.
Yeah, quite literally. This is one of those movies that, like, if I were to, unlike other movies that we've done, I would recommend this movie as like a introduction or like an explanation of why I love movies so much. It's one of those movies that I look at and I'm like, damn, this is something I would want to make.
Yeah.
Because of how clever and how simple and how easy it is to understand.
Well, what does that mean? Like, explain like
why I love movies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, especially as it relates to this one, is like you say that this is like a movie that you would want to make for what reasons, and as someone who loves movies the way you do, why is this movie so great to you?
So I'll use a comparison just to help out with
okay.
Because I've been using Inception already a lot.
Yeah,
is that people
everything's connected.
People loud Inception for being this very like clever, very like interesting idea that's like super complicated and hard to understand, and you have to watch it a few times and whatever. If you have to watch a movie a few times to get it, that's bad in my opinion. That's not a good thing. A movie is something that you should be able to experience at once, right? And then if you watch it again, you experience it but differently. And this is one of those movies. Like, you watch it, like, were you confused at any point that didn't get resolved during this movie?
Not that I can remember.
Exactly. There's nothing that I came out of this movie being like, man, I really don't understand why it's like this. It was very simple. The premise was very simple. It was very clearly a mystery thriller.
Yeah, and you need a little bit of that in the beginning. Like, I think a lot of good movies do that to where you might be a little bit confused because you just don't have all the answers. They're just presenting questions in the beginning.
And they want to present you questions because they want to give you the answers. Yes. Yeah, and it did. And there were a lot of points in this movie because another little like movie hack is when you learn story structure and you've done it enough to where like you can point out specific parts of a movie. I like to do this in movie theaters when I'm like, man, this movie's been going on for a while. Where are we at? It's about the midpoint, so we're about halfway through. Or this thing just happened, so we're into Act 3, so we've got like a third of the movie left. I like to do that a lot. And this movie, even though I had the time right in front of me because it was on YouTube, I like the twists that I was trying to predict were better than the ones I was trying to predict.
Yeah.
It's like the mystery of who Paprika was. They were not keeping a secret. They were like, hey, she's Paprika.
Yeah, she is.
For the specific purpose of being like, this is how this character progresses through the story. This is where she goes. I don't think that it was like perfectly done, but I feel like the main characters got their resolution. The detective and Sheba, who is Paprika, they both got their resolution to their story really well. And another thing that I like to applaud in movies is when A stories and B stories both get resolved and they resolve together, which is another thing, is that the detective had his B story, and the B story was him getting over his trauma of the past and answering the questions for himself of like, he's a detective and he was trying to figure out who in his dream was getting killed and for what purpose. And he resolved all of that at the same time that they're resolving the actual real life problem of who stole this device. And yeah, man, it's at the risk of sounding pretentious, it's so involved with itself and doesn't make you feel bad for coming along with it. You know, does that make sense? It's a thing that I think people like to think about with Christopher Nolan type movies. Yeah, is that they're like, wow, it's so complicated and so different that like it takes a really smart person to get it. Yeah, where I think that's super pretentious and a little misleading. And I'm not talking about like Oppenheimer type Christopher Nolan movies. I'm not talking about like the Dark Knight series. Like
Tenet.
I'm talking, like Tenet.
I mean, his idea. Just to speak on that a little bit, his ideas are super cool.
They are,
but the execution is a little lackluster. Yeah, man. I think he needs to like kind of look at Quentin Tarantino for like.
I know what you're saying.
Conversation, and like how people talk, because his is very just unrealistic. I mean, and his characters don't react especially in Tenet, his characters did not react in a realistic way. When you imagine that kind of crazy situation, the things that they could do, you'd be like, you're crazy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And apparently, like, when it's explained to these people what is going on in Tenet, if you haven't seen it, we may do a review on that. Maybe not. Maybe it would be one of those ones that we just get to have fun, just kind of like being honest about. We'll put it that way.
Everything wrong with Tenet. 15 minutes or less. Yeah, and stuff like that. But they just don't respond in a real way. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Even this crazy Paprika movie feels more realistic than what was going on and how people were reacting in Tenet. And Paprika is kind of. It's kind of crazy, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it really reeled itself in a lot too, because you could tell like they could have just gone off the rails and had the last 30 minutes be the entire movie. Yeah, but keeping the story where it needed to be was very important. So all that to say, my long-winded explanation of why you should watch the movie is because very simply because it's good. Yeah. What's your rating? You didn't give a rating. I gave 7.5 out of 7.5 out of 10 dreams within dreams. Yeah. And you didn't give nothing. I'm going to give it a 9. Wow. More than Jojo Rabbit. Yeah. Which we also reviewed later. Which you'll see 3 weeks from now. No.
After this,
please.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's doing an order.
I will.
No dreams within dreams on this one, please.
Yeah, because I'll say it, I really like this, but I think I enjoy watching Jojo Rabbit more, and I will say that because it's more grounded in reality and humans, there's more of a correlation between like, man, I really understand, the things that the kid was feeling and with the other kid that was a Jew and the other kid, which was his friend, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And then there's also adults in the movie that experience things.
I also feel like you weigh emotional moments a lot heavier in movies too, which is
I'm more emotional.
Great. No, that's a great thing.
Well, sometimes
if you don't have emotional moments in movies, you got to have really, really solid like everything else,
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my dream girl to come.
Your Paprika,
my Paprika, my little spice girl.
Yeah, we'll get there.
My dream within a dream girl.
Yeah. Hey, full-time MFers, you like this video? We sure did. If you liked it, maybe you should share it with your friends. Maybe like the video and subscribe.
If we were you, that's what we would do. If I was watching this,
I'd be all over that.
Like, and I'd hit that share, and then I would hit that subscribe in that order.
Yeah. There's also another video that's popped up. YouTube thinks you like this one, so you should watch that one now.
See you next time.